Hello and welcome once again to the Film Room. My name is John Jansen, and today we are going to look at a play run by Penn State against Wisconsin here. So let's get right into it. Both of these teams have very, very active offenses, and there's a lot of movement, a lot of ball screens, a lot of cuts, a lot of off-ball screens, and so it's very frenetic on both ends, and we're going to look at some action here and something that I think Penn State could have taken advantage of and didn't here. So they start here with a side entry and a ball screen with 15. Now 15 is their backup center, and he's a little he kind of plays too fast. So he sets a nice screen here, and you see he makes the defender go over the screen, which is what we want. And that puts the defender there in a really tough situation because it's 2-on-1 against him because the defender is behind. So the first mistake we see here is the guy coming off this ball screen doesn't turn the corner, okay? By taking this loop, number one, he lets the defender catch up. And number two, he lets number 11, the defender, retreat back to number 15 because he's not really a threat because he didn't turn that corner tight. I mean, you really got to turn that thing tight and engage this defender and make it so he can't go back to his own guy. So that's the first thing I think they should do better. The second thing is you see the screen set pretty high. Well, when this guy turns the corner, where is he going to come? Pretty much right down the middle. So now you have number one who just is too close. Do you see how the spacing is off here? And because he's so close, number 5 can clog that lane that he wants to drive on. So it lets 11 go back to his original guy, and it stops the drive because number 1's in the way and his defender gets in the way. And it's not even far for him to go. Look at that. It's one step, and he's back on his guy. So a couple things just right off the bat here. Again, the next thing is I don't really like the way Penn State big men turn. I'm more of a seal guy on a ball screen where he should be pivoting and opening up his body and sealing that guy on his butt, but instead he turns the other direction. And they're starting big did the exact same thing too, and they kind of lose a little bit because you end up looping and you lose distance. If he pivots to the inside, then he's on his way to the basket. Instead, he goes outwards and slows down and loses some of that, so that direct line to the basket. So moving on. So number 1 doesn't space well, and number 5's able to easily get back here, okay? So the next thing we have is a ball screen coming across here for number 5. And he does an okay job of getting low on the guy, and the guy actually jumps over the top anyway, so he gets what he wants. Now this time they switch because I don't know why. Maybe because the guy guarding is a guy like for our team, our 3-man can switch with both the 4 and 5s and the guards because he's 6'6", but he's both, he's a guard, but he's big. So we allow him to switch with basically everybody. So that's potentially why they did. Maybe, 34 here called it because he was trailing the screen. But again, we see this guy not trying to turn the corner. But that's not the point here. The point here is number 1 here sets a nice screen, and he's inside the guy. And we see it. And that's the goal here when you're setting this screen, is to get inside your defender. And you're supposed to seal him, and now you've got him pinned off. So it's almost like you're boxing out. So he does a good job of that. And as we see, this is their shooter. We just talked about on the broadcast, is their knockdown shooter. So as you're going to see, number 2 is forced to go over and find him because they can't leave him open. So we see number 1 here with a great seal on this guy. So what number 5 should be doing right now is looking at one of these two guys with the plan of passing it to the other one, right? If he looks here at this guy who's sealed, number 2 is going to freeze and stay here in the paint, and now this skip pass across to their shooter is going to be open. If he looks for this skip pass, Number 2, reading his eyes, is going to head out to the corner, and now he has this lob, this over-the-top pass, and there's going to be nobody home, and it should be an easy layup. But he doesn't even really look at it, as you can see, and, that's life. That happens. You can't always hit everybody. But now, here we go. We pass it to 15, and number 1 is still got this seal, and all he has to do is hold this. 34 is in so much trouble right now. And now that 15 is getting the ball, we have a perfect opportunity for a high-low, because as soon as this ball gets passed, you see 2 sees it for a second, and he delays, and then he goes, oh, the ball got reversed. I got to get to this guy now. So we have this great situation for a high-low, and there's nobody on the backside, and this is the huge mistake, the blunder of this play, is that number 1 gives up his position and just says, oh, well. And then he just wanders out to the three-point line. And it's not easy. I mean, we all know as players, when you're sealed on the outside, you feel this panic because you know that potentially you could give up a layup, and if the shot goes up, you're in a terrible rebounding position. So he's got this guy exactly where he wants him. He's not even in the key yet, so it's not like his 3 seconds has even started. And look, maybe 15 won't throw it to him, but if you hold here and let 15 look at you, it's going to soften up that defense, because 2, again, is going to have to make this tough decision on what to do. And you actually see that 15 kind of looks inside right away, and as if he wants to throw the lob like that right there. He's like, oh, yeah, there it is. And then 1 has given up the position, and he doesn't and he's not able to make the pass, and they lose their edge here. And, they continue. Again, a really nice screen, no roll. Again, if 5 is over, it's just they run this ball screen so high that they allow this defender here to be in a great help side position and still be able to get home. I would drop 5 a little lower just to try to get him away, or maybe run this ball screen a little lower, because it's just it's not going to work this way. And, and then this guy who's kind of they talked about him being the spot-up shooter. He tries to make a fancy pass. I mean, if he just continues to go forward, so he does a nice hostage dribble here, but if he continues at this guy, see how he lets 11 back up? You need to keep going at 11 so he can't back up, and then he has to make a decision, right? 11 has to make a decision. If this guy keeps going forward at this position, at this moment, he has to make a decision. Okay, do I stay with him, or do I just drop back to 15? And by him stopping there, it lets 11 drop off, and then he just makes a terrible pass for a turnover. So a few things that I think they could have done better there, and especially with the seal on the screen, and they definitely could have got some out of that possession.